Do I pay attention to what's happening in insurance or AI or my association or what's happening in the economy or the world as we know it? And there's a lot to hold and carry. And so we feel that too.
Hey there, it's Kelly from Zinni. Before we get started on today's episode, I want to invite you to one of our greatest trainings ever. It's how to build and grow a profitable solo or group practice sustainably. All you got to do is check it out at zinnime.com/podcast. All right, on to our episode.
Welcome back to the podcast. You're joined with just Kelly, that's me, and
Miranda, that's me.
And today we're going to be talking about what the heck is happening in the mental health field. And as we were talking prior to this recording, we had hit record because we want to remember our ideas. We were talking about how this is like a hodgepodge of an episode, that there's not this like one theme that we can just focus on, because we think that how we're feeling mirrors what's going on for our clients, right? There's a lot of what to look at. Do I pay attention to what's happening in insurance or AI or my association or what's happening in the economy or the world as we know it? And there's a lot to hold and carry. And so we feel that too. And I think that's going to show up in our conversation today as we cover many, many things.
I think so. I just got this this idea of like being at the remember the drive-in movie? Some of you have never been to a drive-in movie, but like if I was at a drive-in movie and there was 6 things playing all at once and all 6 were coming in through the speakers, and I was like looking and trying to figure out what was what, like that's kind of the feeling that I keep getting pulled into, and then I have to keep grounding myself back into, can I be here now?
Right.
Am I doing what I need to be doing now? Like all of those pieces. Can I be with what's in front of me? Can I be where I could be most effective?
You and I both had conversations with therapists yesterday. I'm in an Indigenous IFS training, and I was partnered with somebody who works with a federal grant with an Indigenous population. And because it's federal, there are now more rules about what they can do in their social work, in their therapy. They can't discuss gender. They can't discuss safe sex. And they work with teens who are getting pregnant very early in their teen life. And there's more and more tampering, I would say, with the process of what is allowed and what isn't. And we were having this discussion about, do you stay? Do you go? Do you have the resourcing to fight the fight? Or is this a cue of like, it's time to get out? And I know you were talking about something similar yesterday as well.
Yeah. Someone else that was like, on one side, they're like, I'm so excited about my business and what I'm doing and who I can help. And I know that I'm really needed in my community right here, right now. And at the same time, they're like, I feel unsafe, like literally physically unsafe because of their particular marginalization, because of their queerness, that and where they live in particular, that like, I don't know if I could put all of this energy into building something and then feel like I need to flee the country.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's also interesting, like this is an aside, but it feels important to share right now. Like at the same time where we're talking about, therapy, like this social worker who's trying to navigate, here are the things that I can't say. Here's the interventions that I would normally do. Hey, this teen mom is at risk for having another pregnancy very soon after the first pregnancy. A normal social work thing would say, hey, we need to have conversations about this and make sure that they have education. And they can't do that anymore, right? And then at the same time, we have a case that's going to court where there's someone who is saying, hey, conversion therapy for sexuality is something that I should be able to practice as a licensed therapist because this is a freedom of speech issue. And so it's a really interesting like dichotomy, right? On one side, somebody's saying, hey, this is my freedom of speech. I should be able to do this. And on the other side, there's already a lot of things that are in place that are saying, no, you can't talk about diversity. You can't talk about equity. You can't talk about inclusion. We can't talk about safe sex with people that are at risk as social work, especially like social work. Like, what are we talking about?
Right.
And then we pull in again, this is like this weird, like all of these screens are happening concurrently where you go, okay, well, maybe this is the conversation when Kelly and I talked about this yesterday. I was like, well, you just don't write that in your notes. Like you do what you need to do and you know how to write your notes so that that's
Right.
not engaged in there. But then, right, we have these different oversights. What happens when we're required in some cases to use AI to write our notes? When AI is now listening and writing up the summary, and now there isn't necessarily a way to do that. What happens if there's a transcript of what happened in the session? So now it's not even just, hey, I can kind of pick and choose what's clinically appropriate and relevant, or I can screen things out that I'm legally supposed to screen out. There's certain things we're actually not supposed to be including in a medical note, in a progress notes, because of confidentiality beyond anything else. So like suddenly those things are going to be included in a transcript and hit, like saved somewhere.
Welcome to the hodgepodge.
Yeah.
I mean, just as you're talking, like I can feel within my body, there's like I could easily cry. And yesterday, because I'm in my IFS training, right? It's this identification of these different parts of me that want to stay and fight, and that like why we keep doing Zenimi. And then there's another part that's like, I gotta leave this country. That's always been within me. Miranda knows this. I've always like have this like desire to live in other places. But now it feels like there's like a bit of fear behind there. And for those of you that are listening, I mean, I have friends who tell me like, why are you so afraid? Like there's really nothing to fear. Other countries are worse, all these kinds of things. And that's fine. But I think it also, you can feel that, but you have different privilege than me, or a different circumstance than me, and I think that these are real things that are happening for a lot of the clinicians we're talking to, and those that feel happy to stay. Awesome. Thank you for doing your good work here. And there are others that are really grappling with, do I keep my license? Is it actually more dangerous for me to keep my license if I'm going to be told what I can and can't say in session? If I go against what I know is like right for the client, right? And so, there's so many layers to it. And I'm not saying that we have solution, but I do feel like what you opened with, right? About what does it mean to, in this moment, I am here. And how do I have that presence and holding the polarization that's within me, but also being present to what's in front of me until I know within myself what I need to do next. I think that is a skill that I continue to work on building, of being present and holding the tension and working with that tension.
And I think it's actually, it comes back to a skill that I did not learn as a therapist, and I didn't learn in therapy, and then I didn't do a good job of being with my clients in, which is like, can we be with our emotions without like jumping past them, right?
Yeah.
Like, can we actually like be with the sensation in our body? Can we be with the fear? And maybe if we're with the fear and we befriend it and we're with it, maybe it dissolves and resolves. Maybe it turns into some kind of like righteous justice and energetic and motivation. Maybe it turns into some other kind of action and knowing of like, I'm not in alignment anymore. Something's misaligned and I need to make a change. But like, I think there is in these sensations, in the frustration, in the distraction, in the fill in the blank, I think there's a lot of wisdom that's in there that we have not traditionally been taught as therapists, right? Like we've been taught to, even in EMDR, right? Like there's this like little thing, a CBT that's integrated in there and DBT, and like we just need to take these steps back to this evidence-based place. Like here's the evidence. If I can get you to say this or think this instead of that, then your symptoms are going to go away. And I think while that is true, sometimes in the short term, my experience has been longer term, that short term like shift, the symptomology will start to rise later in life if the underlying like sensation, if the process, if the system isn't actually like responded to, dealt with, worked within, then you're just going to be playing whack-a-mole with the symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah, there's really a lot of value in sitting with just even the sensation in the body. I've noticed like recently doing that, there are no words or thoughts. It's all just sensation. And I don't have to figure it all out, but I do feel better as I feel physically or energetically whatever's coming up for me move through me. So if you have those states of fear or confusion, or they're really worth, where are they in the body, and just being with them first before we rush to processing them and adding words to them and meaning and story and moving them along their way, being with it, feeling it. What does anger really feel like for you? I have found so much more value in that than just talking mentally pushing my way through.
Mentally pushing the way through, or in some cases, I don't know if we're allowed to say this in a podcast, but like there's a little bit of like mental masturbation. There's a little bit of
My favorite word.
like it's a great word, right? There's also there's a book called Existential Kink, where it's talking about, again, anything that you're moving through. If you're kind of stuck in that area, there's a reason that you're in there, right? It's another play on this like secondary gains thing that we talk about in therapy. But I think there's like, again, at that core, it's the like, why does this keep drawing my attention? And like, can I just let it be? It's sort of like, if you have a knot in your shoulder, right? Like you can ignore it, but it's just going to get more and more tense. But for the most part, if we start to be with that tense place, if we give it touch, if we give it attention, if we give it some love, if we give it presence, that tension will usually start to like resolve itself. And not,
but I think
we said, right shoulder, relax right now.
But I think it's to the point you said about watching the movie. Yeah. We're sitting with the tension of 6 things, at once, right? Like it's all coming at us at once. And I think it's just the reason we're bringing it up is to acknowledge that there is a lot happening, and like you get to take your time, hopefully. And maybe that's a privilege too, to be able to slow down and actually like sit with the cacophony that's coming at you until you can find, all right, what matters to me right now. I know we talk a lot about like insurance and AI on here, and I had a business school interview the other day, and the person was like, well, I know that you only like cash pay and you're anti-insurance. And I was like, oh. So I wrote a Substack article and I was like, let me be clear. We are not anti-insurance. We're not totally we're anti-exploitation and harm. So as we're talking here, that's what we really are here for, is to empower therapists to be protected, not only for the therapists themselves, but also for their clients and clinical outcomes. We are about ending exploitation and harm. So I know you had some stuff around insurance as well to talk about.
Yeah. So United Healthcare, and again, I'm on this Becker's Health thing. If you want to get angry in the morning, definitely get on this daily digest. But United Healthcare was calling out this association for their cynical contract negotiations, and they're going back and forth. Guess who this contract negotiations with? John Hopkins. And they're saying John Hopkins is asking for reimbursement rates that nobody else in the area is asking for. They're asking for crazy things to be able to deny services to people. And John Hopkins says, actually, like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're just trying to get you to actually follow the contract that you put in place so that it's mutually, so it's the same rules for you and for us. And I think this other piece that's so fascinating, and we've talked about this before too, is that idea that United Healthcare is using other people's inaction. They're staying with it, them not requesting or them being okay with the denial of a raise, as a reason to say, how dare you? Oh, look at you. How dare you be so cynical and not accept this contract? And John Hopkins says, we just can't. So now John Hopkins hasn't been under United Healthcare. And again, guess who's stepping in? the insurance commissioner of the state is stepping in, and she's saying, wait, I don't think we have enough people to provide care without John Hopkins. I need to come in. And now she's the person that's interceding. And I think there's just been so much that I'm really taking in, and I want to figure out, like, how do I really like communicate how powerful our insurance commissioners are, that like they decide everything. They approve every single increase in premium. Beyond that, like, there's discounts right now that are in place through the government, at least in the United States. In the United States, there's discounts right now with the government, with Affordable Care Act and stuff, and some things that are going to be expiring. And when that happens, or if that happens, that's going to have an impact on the general premiums, because the discounts won't be there, and she's not in charge of that part. But every time that they say, hey, we want to increase by 17%, we want to increase by 27%, the insurance commissioner has to sign off on it. They don't get to do this willy-nilly. So all of these rates that we're experiencing, it's all approved by this person. That's crazy.
We offer healthcare to our employees, and come maybe towards the end of this month, beginning of the next, it will be our job to select a plan. And we've been told, or I've been hearing rumors, that it's going to go up anywhere from 12 to 20% in terms of cost. And so it's just so interesting to me. Where does the money go? Because it's not going to the providers that we're seeing. Now, if we're wrong, y'all, and you're like, my rates have been on the up and I keep getting increases, we would love to know about that. Like, I would love to hear that. I want to celebrate you, first of all. And we would love to hear about where insurance companies are doing better and they're improving their rates, they're improving their authorization for you to work with clients.
Yeah. And what particular states, what particular insurance companies are there? And I think I have seen, like, I see a lot of people in Illinois who rave about working with insurance, and Illinois has some really great laws in place. They're they legislate a lot. Texas, there's a lot of therapists that do take insurance in Texas. Again, Texas, traditionally, like, different cost of living than some other states, but also Texas passed the Prompt Pay Act several years ago and has things in place where it's like, no, if you submit your documentation, they need to be able to reimburse in a timely manner, and they can't be asking for money back, 18 months or 3 years later for no fault of your own. Like, they approved it. They said it was okay. They paid it out. They told you that you were covered. They cannot come back 2, 4, 6 years later and go, oh, our mistake, but you have to be the person. That's the piece, right? For me, is see a lot of therapists that are agreeing to contracts and contract rates and contract processes and laws in their particular state that they're out of awareness of, right? It's sort of that space of like, well, you know what? I signed a lease for this apartment, and like, this is great. It's a great lease. It's in a great neighborhood. And then you move in and like, there's mold on the walls. And then you find out that they're increasing, somewhere buried in the lease, they're increasing your rent $50 every month. And then they also are they're moving people in without your knowledge. Like, all of these things where you would look and you go, oh, this is not okay in terms of what's happening. Like, this isn't how rentals are supposed to work. This isn't how housing is supposed to work. Like, that's our issue, is that there are contracts out there. And of course, like, we get to see sometimes like really good situations. Like, I've seen a few good, like really good reimbursement rates where we're like, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Do it.
And like, the laws in their state are taken care of, right? So like, for example, like, one of the recommendations we make is like, the rates are good in your area and they have a limit on clawbacks. So it's like, yeah, within a year, 12 months, 18 months, they have to do clawbacks. So we might say, hold back 10 to 20% of your gross income, right, from those insurance companies. You're going to put that into an account for if there's ever clawback. So you have
Yes.
that money sort of sitting there. And so you can be watching that flow in and out and sort of like put that to the side and then use that as something that you could pull out of after the time has come, right?
Yeah.
A lot of therapists are doing because the reimbursements are low and the contract terms are not favorable to providers is that they're really paycheck to paycheck or living sort of debt to debt, and their debt is continually rising. And so if anything changes, people stop getting paid in a timely manner, somebody goes on maternity leave, something happens with COVID, and suddenly they stop reimbursing, they update their computer system, or there's a clawback for no fault. We're not even talking about the clawbacks where somebody goes, somebody looked at my records, found I wasn't keeping records, and like they asked for money back because I didn't do a good job of documenting. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about something happened through no fault of the therapist whatsoever. And they just said, no, sorry, we messed up. Our bad. Please send us $6,000. Oh, wait, actually, we're just going to go ahead and take that out of your current client, right? We had one client where they said, hey, send us this money or we're going to start taking it out of your current clients. Send us this money by this date. So they were like, oh my gosh. So they sent the money in immediately 2 weeks before the money was due. They cashed that check and then they they took out of the other things. So like, does it get resolved? Yes. But now their savings is gone. I don't remember if it was like 6 to 8K is what's like rattling around in my head. So that is gone. And now they're also not getting the income. So suddenly they're struggling with like paying rent and like their bills and stuff. So like, that's the kind of stuff that we get to see, and we get to see it across the states, like throughout the United States. And it's rough.
And I would suggest, if you're listening to other coaches or other sources around these topics, pay attention also to who pays those sources. So some people are taking money or affiliate. This is a normal thing here where if you partner with a company and you recommend them that they give you money back. Do that because we want to keep our referrals very clean. And so we can always pivot also at any time if we're like, oh, this company really shifted. And we're not like, oh, but that's some of our income. We don't want that in the mix at all. So as you're like, well, what about this program? Or I heard Rulo really works, or I heard Headway really works. Well, I'm just curious when you hear where it works, like pay attention to if there's a money exchange involved in that recommendation as well. It's just one of those things that I think is really important that we're aware of, that when you listen to a podcast, you won't hear ads or sponsorship on ours. We don't take money. But others do, and that's fine. That's cool for them. Yay them figuring out what works, but then also pay attention of like what is being said also has money back behind it. And just something I think people should be aware of. Yeah.
There's also something there too, in terms of like when somebody says multiple streams of income, right? And they go, oh, like, oh yeah, insurance is great. Let me show you how to use insurance. It's fantastic. And then they're getting a stream of income from affiliates, and then they're getting a stream of income from providing coaching, and they're doing a stream of income from courses. And you look and you go, actually, this person is working 60 or 80 hours a week, and they're actually like, if they were just doing clinical work, they couldn't sustain their lifestyle, right? Their lifestyle is not working with one job. And while it can be like sexy, and there are reasons sometimes to think about multiple streams of income, it shouldn't be that you are like side gigging your way, like the gig economy of like $5 here, $20 there. Like, it doesn't work for most therapists. It's not who we are.
I think across the board for humanity, like this idea of one job should sustain us.
Yeah.
I know for you and I, we often play around with like, oh, are we going back into healing work, or like, doing some side things or whatever. But that's out of like curiosity for using our gifts in other ways. But like one job, like when I did practice and coaching, I let that go on for way too long. And really like being sustainable with one thing. That's what we want for therapists is like, cool, if you want to add that stuff down the road, but whatever you have right now, like, can we make that really good and sustainable? So it's not because I have to depend on this other stream of income. It's all gravy and it's fun and it's what you want to do. But like having one thing that really works well, it'll also help your other streams of income do well as too. But
there was someone talking about the idea of what happens for people when they are, and this is sort of related, but it was the statistics. If somebody is trying to do a startup, so this is like outside of the mental health field, and if they go all in on the startup versus if they have their job, their money covered by their like full-time gig, and they're trying to do the startup on the side. And what they find is it's a 33% increase of success with a startup when the person has an income stream that is solid and like significant. And so what that means for you in this space is that if you are trying to piecemeal together 6 streams of income, right, to try to make this together, the odds of any one of these things working, right, in a sense, is 33% less. Like that space of knowing that like you're taken care of. I think also
which can I just highlight the importance of that is what we're talking about with like privilege is like when you look at a peer like starting a practice and why does it look so much easier? Well, maybe they are already taken care of sometimes. Like this is just fact. Like when you have resources, your stress is less. It influences the outcomes of your efforts. And so how do you control or mitigate the amount of stress you're under? And that's also about your pacing of growth. And I mean, I could go on and on about this stuff.
It's a real thing, like this space of really understanding who we are as humans, what we really truly need to be successful, who we are as therapists, and this space that we get into of thinking that we can do really great clinical work while our life is on fire, like while we are stressed about paying our bills. Like it's not that, like the research says that it isn't that money will buy you happiness. It's not that, but not having your basic needs met will absolutely have a huge impact on you moving forward. And so it used to be, this was like 15 years ago. So it used to be that it was about $60,000 a year. That if you got to $60,000 a year, then at that point, like it had a huge impact on your mental health, but nothing above that would improve your mental health, your depression, your anxiety, what have you. It's basically this like, again, pros and cons with everything, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Like if you know your shelter and your food and you're okay, it does impact the rest of it. So like, Are you okay as a therapist? Are you feeling like safe? And so the fastest way that we can get you to a sense of safety with your clinical work, with your finances, and in some states, we can get you there very quickly with insurance. And in other places, not so much.
I will say on the multiple stream of income front, there is some good stuff that we are seeing that our clients are doing, particularly like around intensive formats. Now, intensives aren't for every kind of clinician. You may not be able to sit that long or have that kind of presence, but like we're seeing really good clinical outcomes. And then that feeds the clinician's confidence, which improves their marketing, which then gets them better clients. And it just creates this ongoing loop. And more, I've been writing up some case studies of some of our clients of how intensive work or adding in somatic work or doing longer sessions or really just instead of creating another stream of income, it's taking the income that I have and thinking like, is this my highest and best? Is this the way I love to do this work? And the clinicians that are doing really well are aligning the services with their neurotype, their energy, their gifts, their joy. And I am seeing this more and more when people are giving themselves permission to step outside of the box, and providing services. So while we can talk about how things are rough, what we're noticing is the people that maybe they're not leaving, but they are leaving traditional models and creating a system that is almost kind of like an incubator or a bubble for them that protects them from some of the stuff that's happening in the mental health field.
And, some people sort of tried the intensives as as another stream of income, as like a little trial run. And some people were like, I didn't like it. And then a lot of people were like, actually, I like this so much. And my outcomes are so stellar that I don't actually want to do any weekly anymore. Or I only want to do weekly with people that I'm doing intensives. We just had a client that has gotten rid of their weekly sessions. And it was like a little bit scary. Like, even there was a part of me that was like, wow, you have like a full caseload of weekly clients. Yeah, the intensives have been great, but like, how are your clients going to feel about it? Like, are they going to be as stoked as you to find out that they're just going to come in once a month? Like, what is that going to look like? And man, oh man, it was just so beautiful. And the outcomes are freaking stellar. And I think this is the other part too, is that this is a freedom, again, back to a privilege, because she was already private pay and she didn't have to worry about insurance coming in and saying, you can't do that. She didn't have to worry about like the new AI models that are coming in that a bunch of the big name insurance companies, and we talked about this actually several months ago. We talked about these companies, and there's new companies popping up right and left that everyone's like, yes, you're my person, that they are going to be automatically saying that's not evidence-based. This person needs this level of care. Nope, they need a downturn in level of care. They're going to be, from the way this describes, I want you to read it, Kelly, like what they said, but it was like, wait, I don't know how you could spin that the AI isn't the one determining treatment. Like, everything about it was, we're going to automate and then we're going to let a computer determine treatment. That's the part that where I go, yeah, I'm out. Like, there's no way.
I was just telling you about the AI that raised another 6 million.
Yes.
Kaiser, Optum, and others are behind it. And that is its role, is to help bridge the gap between the client and the provider so that the client gets the right path of care, and it eliminates manual review, and the AI will determine what is right for the client.
Okay, listen to that. Like, so number one of the, and this has been a complaint, whether we're talking about therapists or doctors and surgeons and orthopedic, like all of the different specialties have said, we're getting manual reviews from people that are not trained in our specialty, that don't have any idea what we do, and that are making recommendations that do not have the medical skill or knowledge to be able to do that. So now they're saying, well, you know what? We're going to get rid of the manual review altogether of this person who's not properly trained. And we're going to hand that over to a bot. I mean, maybe it'll do better. But again, they're like, hey, we're going to save money by doing this, right? Like, that was what was the percentage of how much they thought was going to cut costs?
60% faster care decisions by reducing manual review, especially important for high-risk populations such as those needing substance use treatment. 30% increase in provider adherence to evidence-based standards, driving better outcomes and lowering costs for high-intensity services like ABA therapy. 55% increase in provider network satisfaction, driven by greater alignment and transparency between providers and payers on care pathways. It's just so interesting, right? In the U.S. health system, this is a quote from the CEO of ONOS. Patients are too often left behind, costs keep rising, and health plans are forced to choose between higher premiums or outdated processes that create abrasion between providers and payers, leaving members caught in the middle. We built ONOS Health to redirect more dollars back to members, get them on the most effective care pathway, and align payers and providers on the right care for people.
So on one side, okay, here's what I heard in that I really like. Like, anytime that any of us have had to get an MRI or do anything with insurance or surgeries or those kinds of things, there's this process of pre-authorization that needs to happen, where that is submitted to the insurance company. And sometimes it takes hours and sometimes it takes weeks. And then sometimes what they authorize is not related to what was requested. And there's this back and forth of all of these people that are trying to navigate the system. So the idea that it could submit a piece of paper or submit something through Onos, right, this new company, and that the 60% faster care decisions, that there would be immediate. And I could imagine some of the immediate stuff might be, no, nope, we're
Yeah.
not doing that.
They
No,
estimate a $60 billion loss each year in behavioral health due to care misalignment and unnecessary admin work. On whose part, though? It feels like it's on the clinician's part. They're the ones losing.
well, and again, that an unnecessary admin work, right, of requesting and going back and forth with clinicians, right? So maybe for those of you who are listening who are in quality assurance right now because you didn't want to do clinical work, and maybe you're feeling a little bit like, ooh, I love or I don't love the work that I'm doing. Like realistically, like your job is probably going away. like your job is gone. And in the same way that they're trying to pull, I think, a dynamic of, all right, well, I looked at this. You seem a little anxious, not too depressed. I'm going to route you to our AI therapist. I'm going to route you to our AI course. And that's the resource that is approved for you. It's not therapy.
Yeah.
It's not sitting with a real human. If you think that that's where they're going to go, is they're going to approve clinical work and they're going to allow people to do deeper work and have better outcomes. I mean, the math does math. They keep cutting, and not everywhere, but a lot of people, like, the rates have gone down. Like all of the other rates have gone up. And there are therapists that have been on insurance plans where they're like, I'm making less today than I was making in 1982.
Yeah. I think too, with some of these tech companies that were giving fairly decent rates, they're starting to drop, which we knew would happen.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we build our workforce? Once we have the workforce built, then we have the power to negotiate down so that we can improve our profitability. So we're also seeing that happen. All right, so let's just pause because we covered a lot in these 40 something minutes. And the reason why I think I brought up the intensives or things like that is just all is not lost, right? Some of you will decide you can't stay here. And some of you will decide that you can. Some of you will decide you want to stay within the system and fight it. And some of you will decide that you want to leave it and reject it and create your own. All is needed and all is welcome here, really. We all have different strengths, gifts, abilities. But I will say, whatever you decide, you are a valuable human. You are important in this world. You matter regardless of what an insurance company tells you, regardless of what clients tell you, regardless of, what this field is saying or how you might be feeling right now. We hope that you can hold, I'll speak for both of us, Miranda, but we hope that you can hold the good that is within you when you're faced with the stuff and the gunk of the world out there.
Yeah. It's therapists for the most part. We are called to this work. It's not a willy-nilly decision that somebody made because they heard that they could make a lot of money. We invest a lot of time and energy because we wanted to help people and we wanted to do good work, and because this is the path that we were given. Like this is the way in our current system that we were given to do this work. But if we were born into another time, there would have been other ways. There have been healers and helpers forever. And so can we trust our knowing to navigate, and can we make sure that we are making decisions consciously and not out of default, not out of fear, not out of misinformation?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we find what our truth is? Not my truth, not Kelly's truth,
Mm-hmm.
the other coaches, not the therapist down the hall, not your old supervisor, not your parents' fear or your uncle who's like, you got to get a real job. If you don't take insurance, ain't nobody ever going to see you. I can't even believe that anybody would sit across. Therapy's bullshit. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you guys hear that you have integrated, can we start to tease that out and go no, this is actually really magical.
Yeah.
This work is magical.
Well, I think that's a good point to stop. There's more always to be said, but I love these combos with you. If you love this conversation, if you like that we're doing these, we'd love to hear from you. And if there's things that you want to hear from us that you want us to talk about, let us know. You can always email help@zinnyme.com.
And if you hate it, let us know that too, because
Yeah, we'll stop. It's fine.
yeah, we'll just talk about it privately. We don't need to like lay
Yeah,
it
it's
out
okay.
there.
You don't need to hear our private conversations.
We're still going to be talking about this. We're still going to be working on it, but like,
I mean, we still, like, just to be clear, we're still like coaching and teaching people how to run their business and how to do this well. And I think it'd be fun for us to do an episode on like what has changed and how we coach or what we say.
Yeah.
As things have changed, but we do love caring about what's happening and opening up these conversations in our community and advocating for better. So thanks for being a part of it. Until next time.
Bye, y'all.
I hope you loved today's episode. If you're a therapist who's tired of those long hours, low pay, and constantly battling burnout, don't forget our free video training designed just for you on how to build and grow a sustainable, profitable solo or group practice. Head over to zinnyme.com/podcast to check it out today. Until next time.